Hello and welcome to the Three Questions Podcast, where we dive deep into the world of wealth management and connect you with industry experts. I'm your host, Wayne Baxter, Senior Executive Manager with One Capital Management. If you or your Human Resources Department is in the process of hiring new talent, you're not going to want to miss today's podcast. We're going to speak to a professional people connector and address the three questions employers should ask about their hiring process. Thank you for taking time to check us out. And if you enjoy this episode of the Three Questions Podcast, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Our special guest is Rochelle Nitka. She is President of Camarillo, California-based Total Talent Partners. Rochelle, it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us today. Great to see you.
Thank you for having me, Wayne. Really great to be here.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Now, listen, before we get to our three questions that employers should ask about their hiring process, I think it'd be a good idea if we took a couple minutes here, just so that our audience can get to know you a little bit better. And, the first question, I don't think I've ever really maybe asked too many people this, but how did you get started in this role as a people connector?
Great question. I was actually recruited into this role by
the irony.
the owner of a staffing agency. It was a regional firm, and I had known him through another business that I was involved in. And he recruited me into his organization to sell for him in the traditional staffing world, and that's temporary staffing and recruitment as well, but not specifically executive search. So it was quite a long time ago.
Okay, so in the role that you have now with Total Talent Partner, what industries, is there any industry specifically that you focus on?
Well, I have specialized in a number of different roles throughout the years. I've opened an office for a well-known accounting and finance firm that you might be familiar with, as well as technology placement, engineering, and human resources. And those are really the areas that I focus on today. Although I do have a number of clients that are in the manufacturing world who require production supervisors or leaders in certain areas that they rely on me to find for them as well. So it really depends on the relationship with the client.
And the geographical footprint, Rochelle, generally speaking, where are your clients centered around? Is there an area that you focus on specifically?
Well, that's one of the great things about executive search. We can really work anywhere in the country or in the world if we're licensed to do so. I currently work primarily, I would say, in Southern California or throughout California, but I do have a number of clients who have locations in North Carolina and Florida, Texas. Just depends on the size of the organization.
So you do have some scope there that if someone needed your resources outside of Southern California, you could be helpful.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So when you think about all the things that you do in your role, what do you like best about the work that you do? What is it really that gets you out of bed in the morning that you really enjoy doing your job?
Yeah. Well, that too, I have to say, unleashing the potential of the candidates that we work with in order to make sure that we can help them craft their future and what's really lights them up in their organizations, working with clients who are struggling with finding the right talent, people who are going to help them grow their organization and drive the business for them, whether that be in an operations role or a sales role, really understanding what it is that they're looking for in order to drive their brand and their organization going forward. So those deep relationships and also the exposure to all the different industries that we're exposed to. In executive search, we work across industries. So I might work with an aerospace organization today and tomorrow a financial services company. So it really gives me an opportunity to stay ahead of industry trends and understand what's going on in different markets. So continuous learning, and adaptation.
I moved to Southern California, I think it was like 12 years ago. It's hard to believe it's been that long. And if I think about one of the best benefits of my relocation here, kind of similar to what you said, is the people I've met since I've moved here has been just phenomenal across the U.S. So I think that's similar to what you're just saying, is that the connections that you make through is just as a part of your role. And I got to tell you, that for me has been one of the big blessings of my move from Toronto down to LA. No regrets whatsoever.
Oh, that's
Uh,
great. Yeah.
Now, today's topic, the 3 questions employers should ask about their hiring process. These questions apply whether you're just starting a new business, trying to create some wealth, or you're a seasoned business owner who just really wants to have more time on running your business. This is intended for either. So, Rochelle, let's just get right to the 3 questions. And the first one, these are 3 questions that a business owner would ask about their hiring process. The first question is, do I have the right tools to hire the right talent? Your thoughts?
Wayne, it used to be that you could place an ad in the paper when we had those, but not too
Yes.
long ago, and you would get responses and basically hire someone from those responses. Today, hiring is so much more complex. There are ATS systems like Greenhouse or Workday that allow you and large companies primarily to manage the workflow of hiring and application processes. It allows them to screen some of those applications in a preliminary manner with AI or other resources. There are social media platforms like LinkedIn and Instagram that allow you to tell the story about your company, excuse me, and promote your job openings as well. And then there are also things like the candidate sourcing tools, Seamless AI that uses artificial intelligence to be able to help identify and source potential candidates that have the skill sets that you're looking for, or assessment and skill testing tools. So there's a lot of complex tools and resources available to help you to define what it is you're looking for. So it's really a matter of understanding, what do I need in order to identify the right talent, and how do I get there, right? So in assessing that, I think it just depends on size of company, whether or not you have a specialty, like you had mentioned, are there specific skills that are needed in that particular role or that particular organization or industry that has to be sought out, and outreach that needs to reach out to those individuals. And then how do you find them and how do you resource through them? So there are a lot of tools that are available to do that. And yep, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you mentioned a couple times, AI, and I was in a meeting earlier this morning with a group of different types of professionals, CPAs, accountants, and financial advisors, and that topic came up of AI and whether or not it was going to be a tool that people can use, or how it was going to challenge their industry. When you think about AI in the executive search space, do you look at that as a complementary tool or a challenge, or something that's going to actually compete with what you do?
Oh, I definitely think it's a complementary tool. There are many, many resources and more coming on board every day that allow us to have specific outreach to specific skill sets and individuals that we may not have had access to previously through AI, because they're going through and scanning resources that we may not even utilize in our search platforms. So I believe that it really does complement what we do. I think that you have to be careful about how you use it, and what it is that you're evaluating once you take a look at what's provided to you. So
Yeah, I think more and more people I'm talking to, they're becoming less threatened by AI and coming to realize that it's a tool that a lot of us can use, including myself, to help enhance my ability to be able to advise my clients. And good to hear you feel
absolutely.
the same way. Okay,
Yeah,
so
many times it can help with job description creation, at least giving you a template to start from, and then utilize that, to really refine what it is that you're looking for. And then also, again, that outreach on different platforms on the
it's
internet.
I would put it under the category of inspirational tool at this point. It's
Absolutely. Yep. It works for me.
all right, so great answer to the first question. Now, our second question, again, these are questions that are being asked by business owners who are looking reviewing their hiring process. Question number 2 now this is a good one, is our candidate screening process screening in or screening out? Now, before you answer that question, I got to ask a follow-up question. What is screening in and screening out? I think we need to know what that is first. But yes, your thoughts.
Absolutely. So screening out is really finding every reason not to hire someone versus looking at all the things that someone could bring to the table. So when you look at a person's resume, or say you're utilizing a tool that reviews a person's resume, are they looking for those nuanced items that actually might add to the skill set and the resources that that person's bringing to the table? Or are they eliminating them based on your finite criteria that says, we will look at these candidates, we will not look at those. So you do have to really take some time to determine what are must-haves in that position. And those are great to screen out with an AI tool or with your applicant tracking tool, or even your recruiters internally or externally. And then there are those things that are possibly bring more value to the table because they might have those resources. But sometimes having an individual look at the resume and look at those resources really is the only way to determine that, because right now an automated tool probably wouldn't be able to pick up that nuance.
So one of the mistakes that business owners could make potentially is they inadvertently screen out potential candidates, unintentionally, of course, but they may be too finite in their screening process. So that's what you mean by screening out.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, something as simple as sometimes, because the position might be hybrid, the company might say, well, they have to live within a 50-mile radius of our office. Well, is it possible that someone from San Francisco can fly down if they're going to be coming in the office twice a month? Yes. So do you really want to screen out location that way?
They're the right fit otherwise, in other words.
Yeah, a lot of different things to look at. Yeah.
Interesting. This is a follow-up question to that. You brought up remote working. So have you noticed a trend? And I must admit, I've seen the trend now that, especially in my industry, financial services, a lot of companies now are reconsidering the remote work situation. Have you noticed any difference, either whether it's in our industry or other industries, where that flexibility is starting to be withheld and people are expected to work from in the office more frequently? Have you seen any trends that way?
Oh, yes. Yes. This last year, we are seeing, I would say 90% of the companies that we work with are bringing their employees back in the office at least a few days a month to potentially a few days a week. So it just really depends. But we are seeing a trend that they would like them to be closer to the location so that if they do make that change, that they're going to be able to come in if they have to.
Interesting. And not entirely unexpected now you think about it, after what had happened through COVID and everybody wanting basically scatter to the far reaches of the country.
Yes, exactly. And they were moving without letting people know.
Yeah, there's that too.
The employer would find out after the fact that, oh, you're living in Nebraska?
or you're living in a van in Yosemite, or
Absolutely,
you're in
absolutely.
Sedona this
Yeah.
week. I actually
It's
know
true.
somebody, and if they're listening to me or listening to us or watching us, they'll know who they are. I would reach out to them and say, "Where are you this week?" "Oh, we're in Sedona this week." And
Absolutely,
they
yes.
can have
No,
us
that
soon
happened
next
a lot.
week.
Yeah. And there are some industries, honestly, Wayne, that are still going to stay remote. Financial services is probably one of them, but it just depends on the role that the individual is in. A lot of times, the more clerical the role or the more manual resources that are needed, that's when they're really going to have to come into the office. So, or the more oversight that's needed.
Okay, so let's move on to our third question now. And again, Rochelle, great having you here. Rochelle Nitka is I call her a people connector, just a long time industry expert in that world. Okay, so the third question, again, these are questions from the perspective of a business owner who's looking and reviewing their hiring process. Question number 3, is our agency partnership aligned for success? So I guess, again, I would suggest maybe describe what you mean by that, and then we can go take it from there.
Yeah,
Agency partnership by definition.
right. Well, if this, from what I'm gathering, what you're talking about is if you are working with an outside search firm or a staffing agency,
Yes.
how is that partnership set up? And are you in a position where you're giving your partner in your search recruitment firm or your staffing firm enough information to really be successful in fulfilling the needs that you have? Most of the time, very large companies have strong relationships with agencies, whether it be individual search firms, boutique firms for specific positions, or working with staffing agencies for temporary and temporary to hire types of roles. So those relationships tend to be sought after in a very well-designed program or process. So once those individuals are vetted, they bring them in and they have a strong relationship going forward and only use those resources. With a small or mid-sized company, a lot of times they're really searching and finding references to companies like mine through other resources like yourself, Wayne. They might work with you and say, gosh, I really need to hire somebody. We're having a hard time finding this person, and you might refer them. Well, in that situation, do they really know how to set up the search firm for success? And what I mean by that is giving them enough information about the brand of the organization, the culture of the organization, the types of nuances that work and don't work. What kind of communication style does the organization have, or that particular department in the organization? What kind of leadership? Do they want someone who's going to be very independent and make decisions on their own and drive activity, or do they want someone who's going to take direction well? So little things like that, really understanding how to build that relationship and that rapport so that when they call upon me or whomever it is they're calling on, we can be successful in finding those individuals for them.
Is it normal or typical that a firm will have multiple agencies relationships? Is that pretty common that they'll maybe have 3, 4, 5 go-to agencies that they'll work with in order to find employees, or do they typically focus with one? Like, how does that work? Is it a
That's a great question. And it really varies. I have some clients that call me for everything that they have, but that depends on the size of the company and the types of positions that they're working with. I probably wouldn't fill a production line worker, so my manufacturing companies are not going to be calling me for that. However, if they need a production lead, then I will be able to help them with that. So sometimes it depends on what the search firm specializes in. I have an aerospace company I work with, and they have firms that they call specifically for engineering, some that they call for accounting and finance, and then others that they would call for administration. So it really, yes, it's common that there would be multiple resources for direct hire search. For staffing, for temporary staffing, many times they'll select one agency to be their primary resource, and then they'll have maybe backup resources in case that person or that company cannot fulfill the needs that they have. But it really depends on the size of the firm.
Well, Rochelle, you've been a great guest today. This is something I've been wanting to have you on my podcast for quite a while here, and I'm glad you were able to make some time for me today. My
Sure.
guess is that people listening to the business owners specifically who are watching or listening today are going to want to probably get to know you better and try to reach you and contact you. What is the best way? What is the best way to contact you?
Well, the best way would be either my cell or emailing me at rochelle@totaltalentpartners.com. My direct phone number is 818-317-3435. And then on LinkedIn, I have a business page that people can reach out to us at as well, that we do post positions from. So that might be the easiest way.
Perfect. Rochelle, thanks a lot for joining us today. I really appreciate it. Rochelle Nitka is the president of Camarillo, California-based Total Talent Partners. Great guest, and then we'll probably have her back again sometime real soon. We really like keeping in touch. So, Rochelle, thank you.
Thank you very much, Wayne.
I look forward to bringing you the 3 Questions podcast, and I hope you find them educational and informative. Please consider liking this video and subscribing to our YouTube channel. And to receive notification when our latest podcast is being posted, please click on the notifications bell. Lastly, to schedule an online Zoom consultation with me to discuss your wealth management needs, please click on the link in the description box below, www.onecapital.com/meet with Wayne. Thank you, and we'll see you soon.